Hello everyone. In this video, we'll see secondary storage. So in this session, we will see the physical structure of our secondary storage device and its effects on the uses of the device. So see, basically as a secondary storage, we use hard disk as a secondary storage device. So the disk consists of many number of platters. One platter is one circular surface, right? And this is something similar to your CDs. So one platter is one circular storage, and on a platter there will be many number of tracks will be there. One track is one circular path, right? So on a platter many tracks will be there, and many tracks at the same distance from the edge of the disk will be consisting your one cylinder. So one circle is what? One track, and all the circles of same diameter is giving us our cylinder. And on a track, many sectors will be there. And we are going to store information sector wise. In one sector, one block will be stored. In another sector, another block will be stored, like that. So see here, few terms are there that has to be very clear. One is platter. This is one hole. This is platter. On a platter, many circular tracks will be there, and the tracks at the same distance or at the of same diameter will be forming our cylinder. And on a track, many sectors will be there, and our disk moves around this spindle, and we can read the information whichever is under our read write head. So wherever read write head is pointing to, from there only we can read the information. And read write head is there mounted on a arm, and all the arms are attached to one arm assembly, right? So once again, each disc platter has a flat circular surface shape like a CD. The two surfaces of a platter are covered with a magnetic material. That means in a platter, on both sides we can store information. A read-write head flies just above each surface of every platter. The heads are attached to a disc arm that moves all the heads as a unit. Each working surface is divided into a number of concentric rings called tracks. The collection of all tracks that are at the same distance from the edge of the platter is called a cylinder. And each track is further divided into sectors. And traditionally, the size of a sector is 512 bytes. All, or we can also have different or bigger or larger sizes also. Although some modern disks occasionally use larger sector sizes also. Then what will be the capacity of a disk drive? The storage capacity of a disk drive is the number of working surfaces, right? The number of working surfaces will be what? The number of platters into 2, because total number of surfaces is your number of platters, and on a platter both sides we are storing information. So number of platters into 2 is our working surfaces, into number of tracks per surface. How many tracks are there on a surface? Then number of sectors per track, because again the track is divided into sectors, so the number of sectors per track, then that will be multiplied by the number of bytes per sector. That will give us the total capacity of our disk drive. A particular physical block of data is specified by providing the head, sector, cylinder number at which it is located. That means what is the this address for a block that we are providing. So that is provided through a head, on which particular head number it is there, then in which particular track it is there, and under that track in which sector the information will be uh, can be located, right? So head, sector, cylinder, all these three informations are required to get the address of the data block on our disk. And head crest results from this head making contact with the disk surface. If at all our head is making contact with the surface, then head crest occurs. Then magnetic disks provide bulk of secondary storage of modern computers. This is our we use in generally magnetic disk as our secondary storage media. Drives rotate at 60 to 250 times per second. In 1 second, it will rotate 60 times or up to till 250 times. Then what is transfer time? So what is transfer time? It means the speed of computer that actually finds the corresponding data from the hard disk and transfers them to memory. Please understand, here transfer time consists basically of two components. One is positioning time. That means to find the corresponding data from the disk drive. That means we need to get its head number, cylinder number, sector number, right? That is uh, getting that position, right? And then transferring that data to the memory. So these two time together consist my transfer rate. It is measured by transmission of bytes per second. So in generally, unit is megabytes per second. It consists of positioning time. Positioning time means one part is seek time, one part is rotational latency. What these two terms are, we are coming to that. Next is transfer time. So positioning time is locate the information on the disk, right? Locate the block under read write head by doing these two things. One is seek time, one is rotational latency. Then after that, transfer the information to the computer. Then third one is disk controller time. Suppose whenever we have placed the request, that time this is busy doing some other work, means others request, then our request has to be our request need to be in waiting state. Then we will get schedule, and then whatever time taken by the schedule, that controller to schedule and all, is our disk controller time, right? This is very minimal compared to seek time and rotational latency. This is relatively minimal, as well as this is also very small compared to seek time and rotational latency, right? Suppose this one comes in millisecond, this will be coming in microsecond. So seek time, the time necessary to move the disk arm to the desired cylinder, is your seek time. These two components are very, very important, seek time and rotational latency. So seek time is the time necessary to move the disk arm to the desired cylinder. So see here, we need to move the disk arm to the particular cylinder, means to one particular track. Suppose it is here. Now suppose we need to read the information from some other track. Suppose the track is here, right? Then this need to move backward, right? So we need to come to this position. So this time, whatever time we take to make our disk arm to come to our particular desired cylinder or track is same only. So whatever time is required to do that is nothing but our seek time, right? The next is rotational latency, is the amount of time required for the desired sector to rotate around and come under the read-write head. See, first we have made our read-write head under the particular track or the cylinder. Now inside the track or inside the cylinder, many sectors are there. Among one of them, our data block will be there. So we need to bring that sector under the read-write head. So the whatever amount of time is taken for doing that operation is nothing but rotational latency. This can range from anywhere from 0 to 1 full revolution. And on the average, we used to take it will equal be 1/2 revolution. That means whatever time is taken for making half revolution, that we used to consider as rotational latency. Why it is so? Because base case it is 0 and worst case is full rotation you may need to do. So average case will be half, right? So see here, first one is seek time. So seek time is to position the track under your, means the head is positioned under the track. Now see, inside one track, many sectors are there. And see how it is moving like this. So if suppose we need to get information from this particular sector, then it will come very quickly. But if at all we need to get the data from this sector, then we need to make kind of one full rotation. So base case is no movement, Worst case is full movement. Due to that, we generally take rotational latency equal to the time taken for one half revolution. One half revolution, right? And transfer time is the time required to move the data electronically from the disk to the computer. So this is the transfer time, and the sit time and rotational time are the positioning time. After positioning, we can transfer the data, right? Then moving ahead, say how we used to store information here. These drives are addressed as large one-dimensional arrays of logical blocks, right? Where logical block is the smallest unit of transfer. We generally transfer one block, right? So the one-dimensional array of logical blocks is mapped into the sectors of the disk sequentially. So the blocks are stored in the various sectors belonging to various cylinders. So how we are storing it? Sector 0 is the first sector of the first track on the outermost cylinder. There we used to store the information first. So sector 0 of the first sector, and whom we consider first sector? The outermost cylinder, right? Then mapping proceeds in order through that track. That means first we'll complete all the sectors of first track, that is the outermost track. Then the rest of the tracks in that cylinder. That means all the tracks in that cylinder will be first completed, and then through the rest of the cylinders from the outermost to the innermost. This is how we map our blocks into the disk sectors. Next, another important term, constant linear velocity. So see, this concept is followed for our CD-ROMs and DVDs. What it says here, density of bits per track is kept uniform. So to keep this density uniform, what we have to do? Outer tracks will be holding more amounts of data compared to inner tracks. As you know, outer tracks are bigger in size compared to inner tracks, but my density is uniform. So to keep this uniform, outer tracks will be storing more amount of data compared to your inner tracks. Now to keep data rate constant, this method increases disk rotation speed as read-write head moves from outer track to inner track. Then only your data rate will be constant. And this method is known as constant linear velocity. And it is used in your CD-ROMs and DVD drives. Next one, another term is constant angular velocity. Here see, this rotation speed is kept constant. Rotation we are not increasing or decreasing as we are moving inside or outer side. But density of bits per track is not uniform. To keep data rate constant, right? We need to keep data rate constant. This method decreases density of bits from inner track to outer track. So outer tracks hold same amount of data as inner tracks because your density of tracks is not uniform, right? So this method is known as constant angular velocity, and this is used in your hard disk. Thank you.